Welcome to the AMA of myself for the month of September. This time a little bit later because I had the Token 2049 conference. So welcome to the AMA. I do it this time a little bit different because I'm in London and I don't have Monica here with me in order to host this AMA. So I'm by myself. It was also community input that I should do more stuff directly with the community. So I'm keeping an eye out on the YouTube chat for your questions. Before we are doing that, I want to cover a few topics before we proceed with the AMA, so that you also have some topics to ask me about and also just to give you a brief update. So first of all, for September then, I would like to go quickly through the achievements. First, the releases. So we released Lisk core version 3.0.1, which came with a few bug fixes because the huge Lisk migration to Lisk version 3 revealed some problems with our Lisk core CLI. So we fixed it in that release. On Lisk service, we also issued a patch release with Lisk service 0.4.5. Where some calculations of the unlocking periods were wrong and fixed in that release. And in Lisk desktop, we had two fixes of patch releases. One's Lisk desktop version 2.0.1 and Lisk desktop version 2.0.2. And most importantly for you probably is that we're currently working on Lisk desktop 2.1. Which will introduce a mechanism with which you can receive your LSK tokens out of hardware wallets again, and some further bug fixes we have found in Lisk desktop in the product. Then moving over to our marketing efforts, we announced Hack on Lisk 2, our second online hackathon with an increase in prize money of $60,000 and a very focused target of DeFi and GameFi blockchain applications. So I'm really curious to see what's coming out of that. It will run until the end of November. So everyone who's a developer, please participate, join us, try out the Lisk SDK, build a blockchain application, and afterwards also give us feedback about your journey. And in the course of that, win very attractive prizes. Additionally, the first wave of our Lisk grant program was concluded and we selected two applications. Once it's NFT and the other one is Calipo. NFT or NFT is, how the name suggests, non-fungible token platform, more focused on social media and on the entertainment industry. And Calipo is a platform for DAOs where you can create votes and make decisions or governance in a decentralized way. Super cool projects, super excited to see them. They're both coming from teams which already were very active before in the Lisk ecosystem. So we have a very high trust in them to deliver something amazing. So really looking forward what they're going to work on and what they're going to release in the coming months and especially next year. We had one blog post from our research team with the title Cross-Chain Message in a Bottle, which focuses on the cross-chain messages of our interoperability solution. Definitely a must-read if you want to know more how everything will work. It is part of the ongoing series, so we had some interoperability blog posts from the research team before already. Make sure to read them as well, and there will be more going forward. And I had my AMA last month as well. If you haven't watched it, please watch it, give it a chance. They're always very valuable information about Lisk, about our efforts in there, which we not always can communicate elsewhere because of time reasons. So these were the monthly achievements from our blog posts. Next, we are soon going to publish our new financial update, but I want to give a little bit of insights there as well before it's actually coming out. So our current assets at the end of September were around 124 million Swiss francs in various cryptocurrencies like USDC, BTC, GBytes or OBytes and Lisk. and also fiat assets, euros and Swiss francs. And we have a managed fund as well as at one of our banks. So quite a lot of money available with an expense rate of around 650,000 Swiss francs, giving us quite a long run rate. And probably what most of you are most interested in is our lending and buyback program. So we have around 15.2 million USDCs on BlockFi, which bring us a different yield every month. And last month, in August, we had a yield of 146,000 USDC, and then we used it for like buying back LSK tokens in September, which resulted in 42,000 LSK tokens we bought back. So quite a big chunk of LSK tokens again gone from the markets and used to incentivize our developers. And then in September, we yielded 61,000 USDC on BlockFi. So back to the average rate, because before we were part of some promotional program there and received an additional 80,000 USDC. However, for October, we're very lucky because they raised the rates from 5% yield to 7% yield per year. So that means starting from next month, we can buy back a few more LSK tokens from the market. That's the financial update. And then, like I said already, I'm in London currently. I'm in a WeWork here, close to Soho. And I'm here because there was a conference after a very long time for me of not attending any conferences. It's the Token 2049 conference, which normally happens in Hong Kong, but this time, the first time in London. Probably because of travel restrictions to Hong Kong, they moved it to Europe for more attendees, and it was really crowded. I think there were over 2,000 tickets sold. I heard from other attendees that there are other conferences in London as well, which saw like 20 or even 60,000 attendees. So I would say in terms of conferences, at least in Europe, we're back in the game. It's pretty normal already by now in the UK. You don't have to wear masks outside or in shops, so it's super good. And well, the conference is split into 2 days, day 1 and day 2. And let me quickly guide you through the conference a little bit. So on last week, Wednesday, the 6th, there was the speaker dinner, because I was speaking on Friday. I was invited there. Pretty cool, nice set, where I met all the speakers of the conference. So this is always the best networking opportunity of any conference, the speaker dinners. So made that a very high priority. Before the speaker dinner, I was actually at the Swissborg meetup, but it was so far away that I was only there for like 20 minutes, but I definitely wanted to meet the team, especially as their founder, Alex, is a very good friend of mine, but then head straight to the speaker dinner for the great networking. And then on the day after was then the first day of Token 2049. So what I usually do is I go to the conference on the first day and just make sure to, well, do one quick round so I know what's there, who's there, and then do a very slow round from booth to booth to booth in order to just speak with everyone who is like having a booth there. And from there, it usually then develops into speaking also just to random people walking around. But by now, after being in blockchain since 9 years and having or attending conferences for Lisk for like nearly 6 years, I know so many people that I also meet a lot of friends again. So it's super cool. Then after the conference, what's normally happening is that there are like evening events. So I also always make sure to go to them, because generally during the day you meet kind of like many people you know already, but also new people. And in the evening hours, then it's the time to bond with them as pretty solidly. So I went to one event from Yet Global, a PR agency based here in London, run by a friend of mine, Samantha, and there made some like great connections again. And afterwards headed then with some of the people attending there to the next event, Wintermute Unplugged. And for example, there I met the Baxman team, Had a good chance to chat with many of the team members. Also, David, the founder, was there, so it was pretty nice. But it's very important to not stay too long at these events because, well, it's still the second day with the conference, and I was speaking also on the second day, so I made sure to speak to as many people as possible and then heading home back to the hotel. Yeah, and then on Friday, second day at the conference, that's the time where you already spoke to every booth and where you met quite a few people already. So what you should do actually is to rather speak to them again, to make sure that they had a nice evening the day before and just build the strength of your connection. It's not so much anymore about speaking to the booths operators because you know already their projects and so on by that time. I had a panel discussion on the second day about the 2020s and how the crypto industry will move forward in the next decade. With Pete, who is like pretty involved. He is now managing the Web3 Techstars accelerator. He is aboard on Coinbase and many other big companies in it since like in finance since like 25 years. And James, he is head of not sure, I think head of product development, but I'm not sure about that one at Huobi, a Chinese-based exchange, but by now global, so it's Huobi Global, who like gave like the insights into like exchange-related activities in the next decade. And then myself from the tech standpoint, so it was super cool panel. I was pretty surprised because normally second day afternoon, there are not too many listeners anymore, but it was in a separate room and it was fully packed. I assume the video will be uploaded at a later time. So give the Token 2049 organizers like a few weeks to collect everything, to cut everything, and then uploading it to the YouTube channel. Afterwards, then like a bit of chat with the panel participants, but then we were heading to the evening events again. First an event by Polygon and Sir or Kara, or I don't know how to pronounce that. And after that to the Abra party. That was pretty nice. They had like made out of ice, like the logo, and I tweeted about that one as well. And yeah, there again, networked as much as possible, met all kinds of people, some very good friends already since years, but also new people. Like just to give you an overview, I met people from BlockFi, from Nexo, from Work in Crypto, from the quite new Boba network, Alan, super nice guy. Like I said already, from Swissborg, Alex, but also his brother, Cyrus, Yep Global, Samantha, or like from Waxman, like many team members, and David, the founder, and yeah, so many more. Like I have everything, like normally you exchange Telegram handles there, so I will make sure in the coming week to, or in this week actually, to like contact them and see how they yeah, ended their London trip. So super nice. And I'm still in London. I'm flying back tomorrow. So just it's best to make sure that you're still here for a few days in case something happens. So on Saturday, for example, I was on dinner with some of the people I met at the conference. So that's always helpful. Then last week as well, we had a Lisk Foundation board meeting. This one a bit special because normally in the COVID-19 times, we did them always digital. But Guido, our managing director, Benedict, one of our board members, and the whole team, that means Minera from finance, Ivona and Ella from legal team. Ella's new joiner, so really happy about that, having her on board, all came to Berlin in order to do the board meeting. Me, unfortunately, I wasn't there. I was in London. But I heard it was super nice. Again, like that everyone met. And in the board meeting, yeah, it's all just a formality. We need to approve various things, report on various things, and do a little bit of risk analysis and mitigation. So all these kind of formal things happen in the board meeting. All the important decisions are always in between. Then something what happened last month and is very important for Oliver and myself is what happened at Lightcurve. We both took on new responsibilities. Before, Oliver was pretty much involved with the development department. That one we now split into SDK development and platform development, with new heads of departments there, with Shu, who you probably know already, dealing with the SDK development, and Manu, who you should also know, dealing with the platform development. And myself, I was always pretty involved with marketing, a topic you always like to hear about, and that's where Monica fully took over managing this department. And this comes at a time where our interoperability solution is being implemented, and we have some more insights into where we're heading to now. And like mentioned before, we assume a release of interoperability next year. And that's the moment then where Oliver and myself want to take one step back and see, okay, what are we doing? What are we working on? What's our vision? Because our vision still stems from 2016 and leads up to interoperability. But that's coming next year. So we need to reevaluate essentially everything we're doing, and see, okay, what's our new plan? What's coming after? Do we want to do certain things a little bit differently? Also, a bit of a problematic topic in the past was our user interface products. And well, super happy to see 3 new team members in the front-end development side. They're joining Lightcurve, Ikemifuna, Gat, and Daniel. One of them taking care of Lisk Mobile, 2 for Lisk Desktop. So happy to see further progress there then in the coming months. So that's a little bit of an update from my side. Closing my documents here and then moving over to the YouTube chat. I hope that my long introduction inspired you for some questions. So let's see how I'm doing that. It's my first time. So I will just go from the top to the bottom. Please ask your questions, and I will try my best to answer them. So the question is from Carly Linux. Status of marketing, build up community, any prospects for partnerships that will bring value to the project, or will everything continue unchanged? So of course everything continues, but changing, we're doing it like nearly all the time. Well, status of marketing was that we were pretty marketing was non-existent last year, and we said this year we're going to ramp the efforts up, and that's what we did. We introduced AMAs first on Discord, now live on YouTube. I started my YouTube channel. We did many sponsored articles on Cointelegraph, BTC Echo, CoinPost, and many other pages or news portals. We started to work with Wexman again in order to secure interviews and podcasts. I was on Crypto 101, JavaScript Jabber, and some others, and also answered interview questions, which resulted in news articles on devpost.com and I think on developers.com. So we're doing that. We had Lisk.js, where we revealed interoperability. We put some more focus on our community with meme contests, with many more communicational pieces on Twitter and in the announcement channels on Lisk Chat. So there was already a lot of stuff which was not there before, and that was our growth in marketing for this year. Because you're also excited about what's coming next, and you want more marketing efforts, we decided that still this year we're doing some more things there which were originally not planned. So you're soon going to see some partnerships revealed. We talked about that on Lisk Chat briefly. Miguel announced some stuff there, and we're also dropping a little bit more money into general marketing, like buying advertisements on Twitter, on Reddit, and so on. But then starting from next year, we're gonna increase the budget one more time quite a bit, and that's where the marketing team is working on long-term collaborations with developer portals or crypto aggregators. So our marketing effort will not only be solely on development, but also on the blockchain community. And I think like it will be a big change. If you compare like to 2020 to this year, 2021, it was or it will be a much bigger marketing effort. I hope it will satisfy you. It's not that we will pump like 20 million into marketing. The platform is still not there. It's still not launched, but we are ramping up the marketing effort significantly then for the launch of the platform. And that's where the original vision of Oliver and myself will become reality, and blockchain applications can be built, which will be then connected to the Lisk blockchain and benefit from interoperability. So yeah, that's answering the question, I hope. And let me quickly make sure I have light. There we are. I was sitting here already for an hour and didn't turn off, so let's hope it's not going off again. All right, that's the first question. Then the next one, let me see. So how do you see the current state of Depos with the new voting system? So let me for that open up quickly Lisk Scan, which I'm always using to see the statistics. So currently there are 22.3 million LSK tokens locked, and it requires on the 101st position around 160,000 LSK tokens to be locked. So that means it's already quite an intensive buy-in to become a delegate, and it was very, like, I think a big competition there going on, with 22 million LSK tokens locked away. I think that's at the current price around $70 million away from the markets. I think that's very good already, because that's like putting it in for the security of the network. I'm very happy, like cartels like didn't form, because like that was our goal. Yeah, it becomes impossible to form them. Of course, there was, I think, one incident with someone who has a lot of LSK tokens and created then 10 delegates or something. But I see that now also they're dropping in ranks, and like more people, it becomes more distributed. So I think it's a big success. But it's still very early days, because I think when, for example, Binance opens up deposits and withdrawals, we'll see a large flood of fresh LSK tokens coming from the exchange into users' wallets again, which they're using for voting. So that will be a very interesting period again. Status quickly on Binance. It is or was a Chinese holiday there, so that's why things got a bit delayed. But they told us they're in the testing phase, so let's wait for further news coming directly from Binance. We can't say too much; it's not our business. But yes, so far I think the state of Depos at Lisk is very good. We reached our goal. We made the network more decentralized again, more secure, more safe, and removed the whole cartel situation. So thanks, Mirko Schwer, for the question. Then from Diego Barons, do you feel you and Oliver deserve to be multimillionaires at this point, owning 7 million Lisk plus? So this is the amount we hold privately. I think I'm at like 3.3 million LSK, and Oliver is at 4 million LSK. But I used 200,000 LSK at the ICO time to incentivize first-day investors as well. So, well, we built a network, and I try to not shy away from difficult questions. We built like a network worth multiple hundreds of millions of dollars, and we put in a lot of work. If you're unhappy with what we are doing, well, okay, that's fair and square, but we're putting a lot of work in. We're doing a lot of brainstorming, trying to be as smart as possible, and as successful as possible. So that's that. And since a long time, whole 2016, 17, 18, 19, 20, and this year, so nearly 6 years. It's not like we didn't work at all for it. However, well, I'm already 9 years in crypto, even without Lisk. I'm above that threshold of being a millionaire. So that's not what's important for us right now. For us, what's important is to build the platform and to make it useful. We feel like blockchain technology has such a tremendous use case and can benefit so many users, like becoming like bankless, but still giving them access to finance in form of DeFi, or benefiting artists through NFTs or collectibles. So we really want that the product stands first, and that's where we're putting all the focus on. If you know, you might know that Oliver didn't touch a single of his Lisk. I sold a few at $3 many years ago. We are very transparent about all of that. So I think, yes, we deserved it, but Lisk still deserves more of us. So the journey is not over yet. We're not going anywhere. We're still here dedicating our efforts. So this is not at the current time a reward for us, but it's also in 3 years or 5 years down the road a reward for us. Okay, then the next one is most important new contact relation from conference from Luke. Important, maybe Pete, who I was on a panel with because he's such a veteran of the finance industry, sits on the board of Coinbase. No worries, he's not getting us on Coinbase. It cannot be possible that he's getting us on Coinbase. He's just a board member, but super nice guy, so knowledgeable. So I think very important to know him, and also very fun and good to know him. You can certainly learn a lot from that person. Also, Alan from Boba Network, super nice guy. Really liked what he said and talked about. So also very important as a contact to have, based in the US. So he might also have some insights going forward from that perspective. Then Diego again says others lost their LSK tokens because they didn't initialize their accounts. The question is a bit differently stated, but that's what he means. So we're very happy that with Lisk version 3, this flaw is eliminated, and everyone who still has like an old Lisk address really needs to initialize it by converting it to the new address format. But we eliminated this problem. It was not a problem of the Lisk wallet. It is a problem of the protocol. So it was just necessary that you initialize it. That means one outgoing transaction to attach the public key to your address, so it becomes fully secure with a full entropy. And like these like collision attacks are not possible anymore. But the problem doesn't exist anymore, so that's a very good thing for us. Then he asks why we're not compensating those people who lost funds, because it's impossible to know if they really did or if they just sent it somewhere else. Creating a random collision is very easy in the old system. Creating a collision for an existing account is much harder. So someone could have created like many collisions beforehand, funded the accounts, and then made it look like later on that they got stolen in order to create bad PR for us, and hope for maybe we reimbursing that person, even though the person didn't lost any LSK because he created the collision themselves. But that's why it's impossible to refund, because we just don't know if it actually was a collision attack or not. Like I said, it's not a problem of the wallet, it's a problem of the protocol, not a security bug or whatever. It's just, let's say, a security issue, but not a bug. It wasn't like a bug in the code or anything like that. It was part of the design of the protocol, which just led to having insecure Lisk accounts over time. As this part still stemmed from, well, before 2016, because we used the same address system like Crypti did before, or like NXT also still has a very similar address system today. And there's also necessary to do an outgoing transaction as far as I know. So that was just the whole situation there. Same person again, Diego, says that he is down in terms of his investments due to misforecasting. Well, I think we did some mistakes in the past in saying how fast we would develop. That's why we are very strict since many years now to not say any dates anymore, to not build up wrong expectations. We're very careful about the expectation management we are doing, and probably still something what can be improved upon. So like how we were in 2016 and 2017, we learned so much from that. So like I really hope that going forward we continue to use these learnings to not make the same mistakes again. But well, how Diego's saying that sidechains would come 2017 already, which was very premature statement. I'm not even sure if that's what we said anymore. I think it was a bit beyond that. But at that point, later on, everyone still had the chance to cash out at $40 per Lisk. So your investment choices and when you sell, when you buy, are not up to us. It's always your own. Of course, if we are like publishing wrong information, that's nothing that should be on us. However, you had the time at that point to still make a lot of money. So please don't put that on us. Always, invest with careful. And we are not doing any discussion, promotion, whatever to investors. Always just to users and to developers. And that's what we did from the beginning. We have to be very careful with investors because then they come online and say, hey, I lost money, you need to reimburse me or whatever. And that's just nothing what is possible. Every investor is like responsible for their own investments. Then by Langdong, are you happy with the hackathon so far? Already some updates on Hack on Lisk 2. I was very happy with the first one. We saw quite a few experiments and smaller blockchain applications popping out of that. Like we have this very nice NFT tutorial. So there came so many use cases or like blockchain apps out of that field. I would have loved to see some other use cases built as well. But that's fair. They got a lot of input there from our side, so it's understandable that they did something in that direction. That's why we also made it a specific category in Hack on Lisk 2, but also created the DeFi category to steer also use cases into a different direction. I don't really have an update on the current one running, but I could quickly go to the Depos platform. It currently says there are 149 participants. And I think for our size, it's very nice. So we're not putting too much promotions on that one. We're not spending $1 million in prices. It is still a quite conservative hackathon. And for that, the number of participants I'm very happy about. If we compare to other hackathons, which have like prizes into the millions, of course, they have many more participants. But there you have to see also have to read the rules because often it is not the prices of the hackathon they're stating, but the prices or the monetary resources you can receive afterwards. And that's the same for us. We have like 1.2 million Swiss francs available for blockchain application development, and we are contacting the best participants of Hack on Lisk for applying to that grant program. And that's very similar also with our competitors. So yeah, to answer the question, I'm happy. I think though for the next hackathon, Hack on Lisk 3, we should do a little bit more effort there in terms of promoting it and putting in maybe bigger partners. We're working on that. And the next hackathon will also go on a little bit longer to give people more time to build, but more about that then when Hack on Lisk 2 concludes and the third one is being announced. I think next year we are going to have 2 more Hack on Lisks. All right. Then from Jordan Gaza, will there be a set date for interoperability once the development gets closer to the end? And will there be a better marketing effort than there was for Core 3? Yes. So for interoperability, which is our main thing, we will have a much stronger marketing effort. Like I said in the beginning, we will have a much higher budget in general for next year for marketing. So there will be a better effort overall. For the date, it's very difficult to predict anything. So normally, I foresee that the implementation of interoperability will actually not take that long. But what will take the longest is the testing of interoperability. So here we need to test quite a few edge cases, like the transfer from one sidechain to another, has like quite a few scenarios where something can go wrong. So QA will be quite heavy, I foresee. So we might reveal sometimes something like, okay, now we're moving into the next phase, but like we cannot give a specific date until we know it's production ready. The exact plan there will come then closer to that time, but I guess we will do a nice event for interoperability, and not like the Lisk mainnet party, but a different format, a little bit more professional and bigger in its presentation. So yeah, no dates, but definitely a much stronger marketing effort. All right. Then a question by Joe Scali. When will Ledger be available? So the Ledger team is very communicative. It's great to work with them. There will be in Lisk Desktop version 2.1.0 like a patch or a fix to be able to access your LSK tokens if you really need to. And like it's more like a workaround. That's where you can define your derivation path of how the passphrase resolves into a private key. And this will enable you to insert your Ledger security passphrase into Lisk Desktop and then withdraw your LSK tokens. It's not the best solution because you could have other coins on your Ledger device, and then you're basically making them hot by moving the passphrase out of your hardware wallet into Lisk Desktop. It's not saved, of course, and it should be relatively secure. However, it's just a workaround. So if you want to be 100% secure, it's better to withdraw your cryptocurrencies first from the Ledger device and then recover your LSK tokens this way, and then move it back, like move all your coins back to the device. We will probably do a little bit of a marketing campaign around that, around hardware wallets, but this is still in the works with the hardware wallet providers. But then the full-on support will be added back in Lisk Desktop 2.2, where you can sign in with the Ledger and sign transactions. So that's where it will become available again for full. This is probably not happening in October, more in November, but at this point, difficult to say because we also are dependent on an external service provider here. Our community member Hirish is working on the implementation on the hardware wallet side of things, so not on the desktop side of things, but I'm sure he will have also an update going forward, and maybe a way of how you can access your LSK tokens from a Ledger device faster through an unofficial means than through our Lisk Desktop solution. Then when will Lisk be back on Binance by Arnaud Durand? So LSK is still being tradable on Binance. It didn't got removed. It's just that the deposits and withdrawals are not there. And of course, it's kind of a problem for people who want to take their LSK tokens into their wallets in order to vote for it or become a delegate. It is or was a Chinese holidays. The last estimation of the 1st October is now 10 days past. So we're a bit dependent on Binance here, of course, to communicate anything, because we cannot speak for them. What they communicated to us is that they're in the QA, in the testing phase. So I really hope that this will come back as soon as possible. Quick additional info from Hirish. He said in the chat about the Ledger application. So all the necessary steps for Ledger are done. We're just waiting for them to accept it. And this is the security audit by the Ledger HQ. So it's up to them when they do that, when they finalize and finish that, in order to reactivate the support for LSK. Then the next question is from Joe Scully again. How is Lisk different from Harmony One, who also has a SDK built with JavaScript? I have to be honest, I'm not too familiar with Harmony One. I could quickly go to their website. Okay. I'm not too familiar with that, but I see a lot about layer 2 features. Okay, so it seems like Harmony is a second layer solution and runs on or with the Ethereum virtual machine where you can deploy smart contracts. Okay, so essentially Lisk is a blockchain application platform. And with the SDK of Lisk, you can build your own blockchain. And I'm quickly going to turn on the light again. Okay, sorry for that. So you can build your own blockchain application on Lisk and with the Lisk SDK. And that means you can define any parameter like block time, block rewards. You can decide to have your own currency or use the LSK currency. You can replace the address system. You can replace the consensus algorithm. You can do so many different things. You can execute logic per transaction or per block. That really like an unlimited amount of features which become possible by that. And also comes with many advantages, not only on this flexibility of implementation, but also on the usability. So you're able to, for example, scale your blockchain application much better, because on your blockchain, only your application is running. On Ethereum, there are many, many different apps at the same time being executed. And then that means if one app becomes very famous, goes viral, like for example, CryptoKitties back then all the other apps users have to pay higher fees. But in Lisk's case, your blockchain has only one app. So if your app becomes successful, okay, then your users might have to pay more fees, but it's not dependent on other applications ruining your use case. So that's the biggest advantage in my opinion, and definitely is a big difference to Ethereum. Now, how this all relates to Harmony, I don't know for sure, but what I know from other projects is if they say they have an SDK, they mostly only have an API wrapper. That means in order to do like API calls more simple with then many different languages. So if you see a project having like 5 SDKs or 10 SDKs, that's mostly just this wrapper, but not an SDK to build a real blockchain from scratch, adding custom modules to it with new transaction types and modifying existing modules or swapping them out, changing consensus algorithms, and so on and so forth. So yeah, Lisk is much, much more powerful in that regard, much more scalable in that regard. And with all of that, I think will be a really good solution going forward once interoperability launches. So I'm looking forward to that, because then the 6 years of work will be a success, and then we can focus not on building, but actually on promoting the platform and growing the ecosystem. All right, so sorry that I cannot answer your question fully, but I hope I gave you some input. Then, is the drop in the ranking normal for such an awesome project like Lisk? Well, we're doing very little for investors. I have to acknowledge that. We will do more efforts for average users in the next year. but so far we didn't do much. From a foundation perspective, we are also not doing any market making. We are buying back LSK tokens just to incentivize developers, not to pump the price. We are not introducing protocol features like in Ethereum, where a huge amount of tokens are being burned, which caused the fees to go up tremendously, but also the price to pump. We're not doing these kind of things. For now, we are still in the building phase, and that means we are focusing on the products. And you might be pretty used to by now to hear that, but that's what we're doing until interoperability is there. With interoperability, we're doing kind of a splash in terms of promotions, and then after that, we focus on growing our ecosystem. And that will be a much better time to evaluate where we stand on CoinMarketCap or price-wise, because that's, for us, where things become crucial, because, our platform will actually be used. And now imagine there are 10 side chains. One is a DEX where you need to lock your LSK tokens and other currencies to provide liquidity. Another one is, an NFT marketplace where you can auction on different NFTs with your LSK tokens. So all these side chains become usable and their use cases being built. And for that, some of them, you need LSK tokens. So that means not only on the Depos algorithm, on the Lisk main chain, LSK tokens are locked away, but also on these side chains, LSK tokens are locked away. And I think that will cause a liquidity crisis at one point on the exchanges, because all the Lisk are being used on the different chains. And that should result in some nice action price-wise. However, then this, of course, will also become a different problem with the fees on the network, but I think there we are much better off than Ethereum due to the multi-chain concept. I think we're an awesome project. I think the drop in ranking is not nice, but it is what it is at this point, and we're focusing on Lisk, on the product, and putting the marketing budgets higher. Maybe this helps for the investors in our community. Let's see about that. But it is one of our concerns, and we're working on that, because also a higher market cap will attract more developers, so it passively goes into the same direction we're working on, attracting developers into our ecosystem. Then by Raffiano Malaka, do you think that Lisk side chain solution is better than something like Cosmos solution? I think we're very early in the whole interoperability industry, with Polkadot, Cosmos, and Lisk being present in there. All other projects, I wouldn't really see that seriously at this point, and all these smart contract platforms are not really competing with us. There we're very early, and I think actually all these three platforms will become interoperable with each others. That's one of the efforts we're going to focus on then in our diamond phase of our roadmap. And that means a developer will just choose the platform they are most comfortable in. Let's, for example, say they have a company with a certain amount of developers knowing one programming language, and they don't want to rehire. Then they might choose Cosmos, Polkadot, or Lisk, dependent on that. Lisk, JavaScript, it is one of the most well-known programming languages in the world, so we have some advantage there. But maybe another project has more custom modules, and one of these custom modules is required for a team to build their blockchain app, and they don't want to implement it themselves. So maybe they decide for that project. I think it's very early. Nobody is better than the other. The only thing better with Cosmos is that they are, I think, live at this point. We are still working on becoming production ready there. But besides that, there's just so many differences. It really a developer has to see what's better for them or not. And I guess at one point it will become clear which technology is the strongest. It's not always the strongest technology, though, which wins the race. Then someone prominent by BitBay Dynamic Stablecoin. I'm not sure they're associated with the exchange. I wouldn't say so at this point. Someone prominent on Discord said a few weeks ago that you all lied about dates. Is that true, or was it a genuine miscalculation of your target dates for SDK? We didn't lie. we made assumptions, we made like estimations, and they all led to certain dates. That was many years ago, and well, the dates were just impossible to kept, because along the way, after the planning and time estimations, and after we published it, we saw we need to rebuild the entire protocol. The cryptic code base was not good enough, and well, then we pulled the roadmap, made a new roadmap without dates, and then everyone held us well, like accountable for the former roadmap, even though we pulled it away, said no, this doesn't work, we have to rebuild the protocol. We introduced all these different phases then, like security and reliability, network economics, network consensus, and so on and so forth. And then people could have solved at that point, but it was not a lie, it was a miscalculation. We didn't know that we have to rebuild the entire code base. We did that, we launched it with Lisk version 3 just now, and now development will be so much faster and better, because we're adding a feature instead of interoperability instead of changing everything. So I'm very optimistic about the future. We're still not announcing any dates. We learned from that as well, because things can change along the way. But from a code-based perspective, we're much better off now. So no lie, just a miscalculation. We revealed a new roadmap. People still hold us accountable to the former one. We just post a picture of that with very outdated information. We publicly announced that it's gone and a new one is being introduced. So no one got misled unless they didn't keep up with the project. But then again, we are not responsible for your investments. Then by Diego again, one question: are there many new developers coming to Lisk lately? And are there numbers on how many developers adopt Lisk ATM at this moment? So for numbers, you best head to GitHub and to NPM. I know some of our libraries are being downloaded thousands of times per week. So the numbers are definitely going up. We see new developers coming through with our grant program, but also with Hack on Lisk 1 and Hack on Lisk 2. Our community is expanding. We have several hundreds of new joiners on Discord every month. So the numbers are all going up. For me, the most important thing, though, is not the numbers purely, but rather who is building real blockchain applications. So I think a project like NFT or Calipo from the first wave of the Lisk grant program is so much more valuable than just 1,000 developers on Discord which don't do really anything. And there we're focusing. That's the second part of the question, or the sentence, that this person always sees the same developers. We're focusing on these heavy community member developers to build something great. They have the most experience, and there's the highest probability that they can deliver something good. So there's a big focus. So if you see the same developers again and again, yes, because they're like the rock star developers of our community. But there are many which stay silent. And well, for us, it's really a big challenge to grow our developer community, but also our biggest effort. So I'm really looking forward to when interoperability launches to see, well, which apps can launch at that point already, but also which apps will come after. Maybe there are some developers still waiting for when we are like done with the implementation and entering QA in order to see if our interoperability solution is something for them, or just to reduce the risk of building and investing money into the development. But the developer community is definitely growing, and looking forward to more efforts there. Also some partnerships we're working on, which shall attract quite a few developers as well going forward. Then when Lisk DEX, not sure at this point when someone in the community is going to develop a Lisk decentralized exchange, but looking forward to one being developed with our latest Lisk SDK. Then how many LSK token will be needed to fund a sidechain? By Mirko Schwer, one more question from him. So you will need to register a sidechain, and that will be very cheap. So it's not like Polkadot, where again some use cases being developed for the token to increase in price, where you have to auction for a parachain, and the people with the highest bid win the slot, is also because Polkadot is not that scalable and they can only have like 100 or so parachains at the same time. Lisk is not like that. We have our own solution, which is nearly infinitively scalable. That means you can register as many sidechains as there's space in a new block. So there's no issue with that. And there's a very high number of possible sidechains which can run at the same time. And yeah, to fund or to register a sidechain, it's not going to be expensive. Like a regular transaction, a little bit more than that, because you need more space in the blockchain. And well, the cost of a transaction is dependent on the size of a transaction, but it's going to be into the cents or a few 10 cents or so, until the point where the main chain is so popular and there will be like at least 1 million transactions per day, where the price of transactions goes up, and like an auction system is being established with transactions themselves, like this is the case on Bitcoin or Ethereum. But even there, we tested already our SDK. We can build blockchains with at least 6 million transactions per day. So we still have a capacity of 6x of increase, so we can keep the fees low. And then again, majority of transactions shall happen within sidechains, within blockchain applications being used. So I don't think the cost of funding a sidechain or registering a sidechain will actually be high. Then a question by David Bradshaw. Are you concerned about losing out on the first to the market advantages? I am concerned, but not deeply, because I think it has shown many times that the first one is not winning. Best example, maybe Google was not the first search engine. It was the simplest to use. And looking at our competitors, there are big differences in accessibility and how simple it is to use them, and also technologically. So either we're moving into a direction where all of them are being used, but depending on the developers' requirements, they choose different ones, or we're heading into the direction where one is winning. But I don't think so. I think they all become interoperable and all will find the niches. Which niche Lisk will conquer is yet to see. But I think it's not going to be problematic not being the first. It's rather going to be problematic of not being accessible enough and not being able to pull enough developers into our community, which I think is not a big issue of being first, but rather of being interesting to the developer community. However, it is part of the concern. We are speeding up as much as possible, but well, we want to do everything very secure as well, and also proper, so it takes its time. Then by Lang Dong, what will happen if Lisk doesn't find adoption and, for example, there's one competitor taking the whole interoperability market, like looking at social networks, Facebook, for example. So there's some very interesting tweets on Twitter about like blockchain or blockchain applications taking the majority of the market share. I think this is actually not the case. With blockchain, you're adding decentralization. You can move your data across. Blockchains become interoperable, and all the data is public. So it's not behind a walled garden like in Facebook, and you cannot move them out, or you cannot join a different social network with the same amount of friends or whatever. So I think it's a different problem here. And that's why I think interoperability is part of blockchain, part of the requirements for blockchain technology to become mainstream, because people don't want to don't want 20 different blockchain platforms and then hold tokens in 20 different wallets. They need an interoperable system. They might want to download the Lisk wallet and then also be able to hold some Bitcoin or Ethereum in there and participate in the DeFi ecosystem. That's why our diamond phase is also very important, adding bridges to other ecosystems, becoming basically interoperable to the whole industry. Just Assuming that we will not find adoption, then we will bootstrap it by adding blockchain applications ourselves and slowly building up the number of blockchain applications with our community as well. And then it's more like a slow race. You have like then their DEX, an NFT marketplace, like a collectibles game, and slowly but surely the number of use cases is going up, and with that also the number of users. And maybe there will be only like 10 big blockchain applications on the Lisk platform being used by millions of people, but maybe that's then at that point good enough. I'm saying this is the worst case scenario. I'm not saying it's coming like that, but even if that's the case and we just find a niche, but the niche which is being used, then we also benefited people with our platform. Then Yusuf asks why he cannot deposit and withdraw Lisk from Binance. I answered that before. So they're still updating to Lisk version 3. It's not up to us to put it online again. It's up to them. We cannot communicate anything. But they said that the latest status was the QA process. They're still testing the implementation. There was a holiday in China, so it might take longer because of that. Then another question by Yusuf: how are you going to make Lisk as famous as other coins that people hyping at this moment? Do you have a plan for a big marketing campaign, I assume? Well, I already said that our budget for marketing is increasing, with before being basically non-existent, towards this year already being much higher than ever before, and next year again much higher in terms of the budget, but also in terms of the efforts, because then we will hopefully be in production at one point, and that's where we are focusing on growing the ecosystem instead of building it first. And well, that's our plan on building traction and building a community which is building blockchain apps, which then act as multiplicators, because every blockchain app is also promoting then, well, their app, but also Lisk to their own community. So it will, I think, at this point explode much quicker than ever before, because suddenly you have these use cases for not only the LSK tokens, but also just in general within the Lisk ecosystem. Our goal is maybe not to be famous, but rather to be useful. But I understand that, well, popularity comes into play when developers are deciding. And I'm quickly turning on the light again. I'm gonna choose a different room next time. I understand that popularity is very important when developers are choosing platforms, so it goes hand in hand. Yeah, for now, focus on building, on making interoperability reality, and on providing the best and most accessible SDK for blockchain application development in order to reach our goals of, well, becoming the industry standard for JavaScript blockchain application development and to build the most accessible blockchain application platform. And I think with that, we will make waves, because people actually will see, oh, okay, actually it's so simple, and they might not expect it. And that will help us a lot with growing organically. Then Coinbase news, no Coinbase news. Sorry, Yusuf, nothing I can talk about. It's not up to us, it's up to them. We're working on it, but it's a very long process. I can assure you that. Then the next one, is Lightcurve working solely on Lisk, or are there already new requests of projects to work for them? By Mirko Schwer, another question. So Lightcurve is exclusively working on the Lisk project. We said also we are going to develop a blockchain application, so the work, or rather research and requirement gathering, has begun there as well. We get requests by companies to work with Lightcurve in order to build something, often also with the Lisk SDK, but we don't want that. We want to stay focused, because we can build the biggest value by focusing on the SDK, the platform, and then a few selected blockchain applications. So yeah, we are working solely on Lisk. Then a question by Rufiano Malaka again. So should we expect sidechains in the next 3 years. Well, yes, definitely. I think our platform will launch somewhere next year, and sidechains become a reality this way. And this means blockchain applications can be built and we can properly grow our ecosystems. So within the next 3 years, definitely. We are working really hard to make next year possible. It's just an estimation, it's not a promise or whatever, but that's the plan right now. Then another one by, and again, I'm not sure if it's the exchange, I don't assume so, BitBay Dynamic Stablecoin. Question is, any plans on onboarding venture capital investments to the project? We don't want venture capitalists sitting in the Lisk Foundation board or in Lightcurve or anything like that. Like with that, it would take away our, let's say, liberty in deciding where to take the project next. I think this is actually our biggest advantage, but maybe also a very big disadvantage in contrast to other projects like Cosmos and Polkadot. They're heavily venture capital led. That's why there's also a lot of money to pump them up, essentially, because all the investors are introducing the projects to the other investors and so on, and helping the projects to attract further funding. But with blockchain technology, I think we're all working towards radical decentralization and a way to eliminate big user groups which have a lot of control. And that's why I don't want venture capitalists in the project for the Lisk SDK, the platform, or Lightcurve. I want that we remain independent. But next year, I guess one of our efforts in business development will be not only to start talking to accelerators to accelerate startups building with the Lisk SDK or attracting startups to build with it, but also to talk about or to talk to venture capitalists or angel investors to find monetary resources, financial resources within our ecosystem to be put into these different blockchain applications, into these sidechain projects. That will be very important for them to just be able to grow. If they don't want to do an ICO, they can go the venture capital path. And here, I guess it's very important then from our side to connect them to this ecosystem of venture capitalists. It's nothing we want to focus on this year. Our BD team is relatively small at this point, but definitely something to work on once we're closer to the platform launch. And that's the only way we see, a relationship with venture capitalists. Then the next question is when Moon? I don't know. Getting late here. I really hope that our efforts on the products and our increased marketing efforts will please everyone going forward. And with that, maybe then also finding more investors participating in the Lisk ecosystem in order to grow it out and to maybe finance also further blockchain applications. Okay, I don't see any more questions popping in. So I will call it an end after 70 minutes. I hope that this new format was good for you guys. It was a first for me. I'm very sorry about the light. I'm here in London in a WeWork, cannot control that. There's a switch. I sat here for an hour and didn't turn off, but maybe I sat somewhere differently and now it's not detecting any movement, so it turned off a few times. But it is what it is. Doesn't take away from the content. I hope the sound and the video was in good quality. So I'm very happy to do this again. Whenever I have the chance to do it in the Lisk Center Berlin, more professional, with Monica or someone else from the team asking me the questions, I think it's always nice to do it in that format. But whenever I'm traveling, like now on the conference, it's also nice to do it more like this. Please let me know if you want to have different kind of videos going forward. I could do these AMAs also in between. but then much quicker, just like 5 minutes or 10-minute AMAs, or surprise AMAs, or just answer one specific question live on camera. Whatever you feel like, please give me feedback on this chat, and I will try to adapt that and implement it into my new YouTube channel. So thank you so much for tuning in, and have a great Monday, great week ahead, and then see you soon on this chat and on the social media channels. Bye-bye.